Hello, buddy. Sanir, engineer, MBA, and investor. And in today's video, I want to talk about the landscape of CRISPR companies, part two of this series. I am planning to make a part three video because I want to cover the private companies in the CRISPR space, specifically Mammoth Biosciences and Prime Medicines. We have two of those threads that we want to cover. But in today's video, we will definitely talk about Caribou Biosciences, Beam Therapeutics, VERV Therapeutics, and Graphite Bio. And these are the second generation of CRISPR companies. In the first part of this series, we covered the first generation of CRISPR companies, Editas, CRISPR Therapeutics, and TLA. But now we're covering the next generation of CRISPR companies. I want to talk about this all in this video. Before we do that, guys, you guys know the drill. Like this video, smash that like button, really helps this channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. It's free, it's quick, it's easy. It's just underneath this video, guys. Hit that subscribe button. Really does help the channel. So, a couple of thoughts here. Got some great comments from the last video. By the way, shout out to the people who leave comments and get stimulating discussions going in our YouTube videos. YouTube is a very hard place to have conversation in the comment section compared to other social media platforms. So, shout out to the people who make the efforts to leave their thoughts. Some people leave really well detailed explanation defending their positions, including in yesterday's video, in the part one of this series, talking about this ranking that we're looking at. First of all, guys, this is not my ranking. I did not say that that was ever my ranking. This is Biotech 2K's ranking. This is the user we've been covering. And today's video will be covering a couple of his or her threads. But that is not my ranking. Maybe in part three, I'll finish off with my own CRISPR company's ranking. If you disagree with this ranking, like I said, leave me in comments below. Defend your positions, right? It's always a fun experiment, exercise thought to do so. So we'll start with Caribou Biosciences. I think Caribou Biosciences in this channel needs no introduction. We've covered this company several times. In fact, without trying to boast or without trying to take much credit here, but I do believe I was literally the only YouTuber that was covering Caribou Biosciences before it went IPO. So just a fact. I'm just stating the fact. That's it is what it is. But let's see what the biotech has to say about this company. This might be the most recent CRISPR IPO, but it is one of the oldest company with this technology. It is actually the oldest company with this technology. Rachel was part of Jennifer Doudna's team, and they worked together from Caribou Science form to form. Caribou Biosciences. Rachel's an amazing CEO, founder-led company. More to come here. So I followed this company for a long time as a private company when I got interested in CRISPR a few years ago. They are the holder of all of Doudna patents for Cas9 and Cas12. They licensed completely Cas9 to NTLA, which they did for a share stake in the company. It's very interesting, guys. Intelia is the number one CRISPR companies in terms of market valuation as we speak, and they are using technology that has been licensed, right? That means licensed from Caribou Biosciences, right? We've talked about this when we were analyzing the company a few months ago, actually. So keep that in mind. And they have many patents, right? Many licensing deals, Caribou Biosciences. Over the years, they sold off a stake to fund their own development. Chardonnay's DNA technology. They reverse licensed Cas9 from NTLA for use in their lead product CD010 under a patent dispute. They have full ownership of Cas12 and Chardonnay's RDNA technology. I might need to study a little bit more this statement here, but let's keep going further. They used standard Cas12 enzyme for their nuclease. This is smaller than Cas9 enzyme that does the straggling breaks, which are easy to repair. The real innovation was the new RDNA technology guides that they developed, right? So this guide is all about reducing off targets, increasing efficiency. That's what Caribou, the company, promises. That's the whole proprietary technology that they believe can leverage this space. The CRISPR. That's the reason why they're a second gen company, right? That's the why we call them a second generation company, including the other ones that we'll be covering in today's video. So this stands for RDNA guides. All CRISPR-Cas9 enzymes use fully RNA guides. The Chardonnay uses key base as DNA. The DNA bases bind better to DNA than RNA bases. Okay. This allows them to bind key bases in the DNA, use them as anchors to align Cas9 enzyme for more accurate cutting. It allows for more efficient cutting and less off-target cutting, which is what I mentioned earlier. They're the only CRISPR company to be fully focused on cell therapies ex vivo. Their first two indications are CAR T in CD19 and BCMA, which are classical starting point to prove the tech works. You can easily compare the other CD19 or BCMA data. They are actually the leading edge of CAR T cell editing. They do CAR inserting into the Treg locus, which increases the persistence and performance. They're doing PD-1 knockouts and they're doing insertion the HLA-E into the B2M locus. There's some of the some there are these are some of the most powerful edits in CAR T therapies. They realize they need between CAR T and blood cells and CAR NK. In solid tumors, this is the need for most companies haven't figured out yet. Uh, they are moving towards iPSC manufacturing for their NK cell programs. Most of these lead assets for CD19 and BCMA probably won't make much money. There are about 30 companies working in this space, but this is also validating the technology. I put peak sales for CAR T at around 1 billion to 2 billion. Again, these numbers, guys, they're very important. I don't think biotech here just threw these in random numbers. I think there are some calculations done here, but just don't forget, you can't take things as what they are. Things are changing. You never know what can happen. Companies get that crazy valuations. Companies get crazy grants from specific associations, specific communities. And just what happened with the pandemic, I truly believe you'll be seeing things in the biotech space that you've most likely never seen when it comes down to biosecurity. Again, that's what the CEO of Ginkgo Bioworks keeps repeating. And there's a part of me that believes that some of these individuals in this space sort of are betting on that, right? They're betting on governments on first, especially in developed nations, to sort of give them specific grants, give them specific resources for them to accelerate what they want to achieve, right? That's my opinion on it. That's what I've been seeing in the space. A lot of these individuals keep repeating biotech security, being proactive rather than reactive. And to me, there's a sense of, when will governments, pour a lot more money, right? And, if governments get involved in this, I mean, they're already involved, right? CRISPR Therapeutics, CTX001, they've gotten designation from several associations like the EMA. So the different authorities already are involved, but imagine when this becomes a healthcare part of the healthcare norm, right? Just I think it's very hard to think about this. It's not definitely not for this video, but just keep that in mind, right? There are about 50 patients per year with B cell lymphomas and another 30,000 with multiple myeloma. Even if they can capture 10% at 8,000 patients, you can get 1.6 billion on CAR T pricing. CAR T is definitely competitive. There's many companies. I think not every single, but most companies that I see in CRISPR, you always see like CAR T somewhere along those lines whenever you study them, right? So definitely a lot of competition there. But again, shows the validation of the need in this space, right? Yeah, this company looks cheap at only 1.5 billion market cap. It actually decreased because of today's mini crash or whatever you want to call it in the whole space in public markets. But to me, I think this company has always been undervalued. I think opening up IPOing at under $900 million a share market valuation was complete steal. I think many people saw that. I think what we saw was basically a company that everybody in the space knew about, but it felt like too good to be true. And I think it still feels like that for many people. But I just think a founder led company, been there for basically a decade at this point, and I think they're here to stay. Just like how this biotech, the individual here is stating, They entered phase one with CBO10. We know that. We covered that. They dosed their first patient back in July. So quite interesting. We'll see data in 2022. And if data comes in positive, guys, this company is going all the way up, right? I don't want to speculate. We don't provide financial advice, but I just can't help to think of it, right? Just think of what happened in Antilia 2001 program, right? What happened with phase one data, right? With in vivo approach. I think this would just go ballistic. The stock would just go crazy up. This is just me, my opinion, but um, so far the allogenic program is showing good efficiency and safety, but short durability. Even CRISPR Therapeutics is right in the middle of the pack for average. Interesting statement. I don't think there's anything that prevents Kabuba cells from moving outside of cell therapy into gene editing like other companies. The biggest reason is patients' limits. In a genetic disease, you have a patient pooled with actual disease. Number of new patients new year is actually much lower, like 1 to 20 per 100,000 patients people per year. That means every patient cured is removed from the pool until you only have the new patient rate. And to me, I know we're analyzing company, but again, the real winners here are the patients, are the families affected, are the citizens, are the communities. You have more people that can work in the workforce. You have more healthy people, less taxes to be spent on legacy healthcare systems that waste the money on alternatives that don't work, that sustain a high cost, and ultimately shortens the lifespan of these people. uh, I know this is all bundled in this thread, and I know biotech doesn't mean to like say that this is a bad thing for the company, but I just think it's amazing, right? I truly believe the human side of me believes this is amazing. So cancer will never be cured. You'll always have 2 million new cancer patients diagnosed each year, with over 600,000 deaths, right? There are endless supply of patients. From a profitability standpoint, that makes cancer the indication that keep making money, right? So lots of potential here, guys. Lots of things to look at here. Caribou Biosciences have always been a company that we've covered in this channel. We'll keep covering. But this, I really like this thread, how he went specific here. I went really deep into the technology companies. Sorry, the specific technology that the company is tackling their programs with, the CAR T approach, and how they're far ahead of legacy competition. That was one of the comments I've read by the user previously, that there was a conference and you had these other companies that were looking like dinosaurs compared to Caribou Biosciences, right? So great trend here. Next one here is Beam Therapeutics, right? I think a lot of people are excited for this one and most likely puzzled from the ranking why Beam Therapeutics is not even a top three in their ranking list, right? So, first company to take CRISPR and modify it using base editing uses Cas9's enzyme that is modified for cutting only one strand of DNA. It's called nickase. The guide is the same. They add an additional enzyme called deaminase. The guide works the same to find the right place in the DNA, can have off-target effect like any guide RNA. The part that has not been eliminated, which has been changed to only one strand of the DNA, gets cut. This removes the possibility of indels related to DNA double strand break that might cause mutation with other first generation editors. Obviously, we're talking about these first gen companies that we covered in part one of this series. It also significantly limits its ability, can no longer do insertions, right? So keep that in mind, guys. Base editing cannot no longer do insertions because of the nature of the edit, right? Right. So the deaminase works on either at the A or C by plucking off the amino group. This is the main difference between them and their counterpart G and T, right? So again, we've made a couple of videos in the past referencing to the whole technical details. Refer to those, but this thread gives a nice ELI5 overview, right? This allows for the transition for A to G, right, or C to T. This further limits this technology can only do certain base edits. It can't make a G into an A or a T into a C, right? So it's a one-way thing. It's not a two-way thing. Interesting. The other risk of is there's no way of telling one A or C from another. The reading window is 4 bases wide, if I recall correctly. If three A's fall into the window, there's no way of telling which one gets changed. Right. So, couple of details here. We'll probably skip a few of these. This will also eliminate some potential targets as they might be unable to target them due to bystander edits in the sickle cell indication still functional. Okay, this technology has some data in animal models that look fantastic. We just don't know how it will work with humans yet, and hopefully they'll get some IND filings out there. I know they are planning to file for it, but it'd be nice for a company to not just have the technology but also have their feet wet, have their hands dirty, right? Something like Caribou Biosciences, right? Build your platform, license your tech out, but ultimately, get your hands dirty, get yourself a program in and get your testing on humans, right? Get the job done. Their lead indication is as sickle cell disease therapy that will compete with CRISPR therapeutics. And blue, I think there are plenty of room. We've already covered this in part one video. Like I said, many winners in the space, many patients. Just the fact that only 1,000 per year, you'll need many of these companies to enter the space. And this is just US alone. Forget about Africa. We haven't even talked about other regions around the world with sickle cell disease patients. So lots of work here to be had here. They have some preclinical programs in the eye and liver, but using these in vivo will be very complicated. The size of the structure is over 7 kilobases. It would take LNP for liver, but multiple AAV vectors for anything else. If you start using multiple vectors for delivery, then you run into issues with getting enough to the right parts, into the right cells, into the right amounts of work, right? So lots of obstacles here as they try to navigate it into the eye and liver, for example, the preclinical programs that they are promising. Um, they have I think the valuation company is the hardest one to justify. They have zero data to validate any of this work with humans. They have tons of challenges in the tech, and they have no big cap partners to help them. I honestly cannot justify any valuation bigger than 3 billion for a company with no clinical data. And actually, I sort of held that same opinion as well for many months on Beam Therapeutics. I think I made a video like maybe a month ago on Beam Therapeutics stating that I've officially invested in them. I still think Beam Therapeutics is not necessarily the leading company in this space. I don't think they're the leading CRISPR company, but I do think they offer a interesting angle perspective to it. And I think things can show and change overnight, right? What if Moderna just comes in and partners up with Beam Therapeutics, right? Everything I've seen from Dr. Liu, I think there is a sense that many academics, many of these research fields are using base editing. Lots of new papers being published. I think he threw out like 12,000 requests and like hundreds and hundreds of published papers in the past year alone for base editing. So lots of potential here. Again, when research academy starts using technology, then something is being something that whatever they're doing right is correct, right? Obviously, we know there is some nice things to it. Obviously, biotech is not too much bullish because you can't really do the reverse, right? It's not a two-way street, right? From A to T, for T to A or C to G, right? It's not a reverse. It's not a two-way thing. So curious to see. I am curious to see how base editing will evolve. Everything I've seen so far about base editing is promising. Lots of experts, I don't know how experts they are really behind this technology and this company. The fact that they have equity in Prime Medicine, a third generation CRISPR company, and the fact that they've sort of licensed their tech and have the potential future profits from VERV Therapeutics, to me shows that they're sort of positioning themselves to be more of a platform company, something similar to what Moderna was able to do. But the difference is Moderna was extremely lucky with the pandemic, and they just executed flawlessly, and look at where they are today, right? So can Beam Therapeutics repeat that? Will there ever be an opportunity? Was Moderna the only company to be in that position and that opportunity? I don't know. I mean, these are not something we can just answer, but I tend to agree with this thread. There's not much I can disagree with. Some of these explanations are very specific, and I think they're I think this individual, I know they're not that bullish on beef therapeutics. I would even say they are bearish on it. But I think there is a reason for it, and I love that they can offer that sense of alarming attitude on it. It's like, guys, yes, this is nice, but they don't have data, right? And again, I am investing in the company, so uh, do take what I say as a grain of salt, but I do believe that they have us placed in a CRISPR space, and that's not what biotech is arguing against either ways. He's just saying, or she's just saying that the valuation of this company is just one of the hardest to justify as it stands. But we'll see, right? We'll see. Amazing leadership though. The company Evans, I think he's a good. Everything I've seen so far is very positive. So now we're gonna look at VERV Therapeutics. We're already like well over 20 minutes here, so I'll try to expedite this. Uh, I don't. I really don't want to make. I really want to keep the third part for the private companies and my closing thoughts here. But VERV Therapeutics, right? This is probably one of my least favorite CRISPR companies. They just license all their base editing technology from to use in the liver around cholesterol from Beam Therapeutics. They even license their use in LNP vectors from another company. So they don't really hold proprietary technology at this point. I just don't know what they bring to the table. They are focused on PCSK9 for their lead asset. Preclinical data looks good. This technology has the same concerns as human as the beam-based editors, right? They throw around new numbers for these indications, but the actual patients would opt to these therapies are probably around 1,500 to 3,000. This would put them to 1.5 to 3 billion best case numbers. If Beam Therapeutics has their opt rights 50% in any of these indications they choose, they lose about and if they don't get the opt-in, if Beam Therapeutics doesn't opt in, they still lose 20% for both of their licenses. If we plot that bell curve, they could peak around $1 billion in year 4 or 5. That's well over what they're currently valued. So I actually tend to agree with this analysis here. Again, not much I can disagree with. I think Verve Therapeutics, we've covered this company in this channel. I think we just did one video really diving deep into the company. And that video didn't really get much love either ways. I don't know if that's a good indication, but I think there's definitely Verve Therapeutics is like one of those companies that I feel like they just got in at the right time, and they have a bunch of investors that I feel like they either want to cash out or they want to increase their valuation, and that's exactly when they went public at the right time. Really, I think there's nothing wrong with it making money, right? All these companies want to make money. I just think you have to bring something unique to the table. The only great thing I feel about this company is that they're tackling cholesterol, which is obviously the leading cardiovascular disease or uh, the leading cause of death for Americans. So there's definitely something noble to that, and I would love to see what they can do. Again, I know we're sort of putting and stacking these companies against each others, but again, we want many companies to be involved. We want more winners. We want more involvement. I actually just think Verve Therapeutics will get bought out. That's my opinion. That's my speculation. I think one of these first gen companies will just straight up buy them, right, and then have exposure to base editing. Although Beam Therapeutics will be the real big winners here, I mean, I just don't think. I don't think this space they're targeting for cholesterol. There's so much competition. Very few very bad patients that would opt in this kind of program. Very PSAK drugs on the market that work well, right? So doesn't look like too much bullish here. That explains why they're low in the list, right? So we'll close this video with Graphite Bio, right? And again, we made a video diving deep into Graphite Bio, a second gen CRISPR company, as we mentioned. Um, I think this company is all about the HDR, right? It's all about the HDR, reducing off targets, increasing efficiency. That's what they talked about in their S1 filing before they went public. So the first thing that jumped at me was the really low sub 50% efficiency of insertion. This is really related to the repair. So I'm betting that most of the DSBs get repaired by NHEG with none insertion being made. Just because you send in a template with a separate vector does not mean it's getting used. Now you have to worry. Now you have the same Cas9 worries of targets, guys, mutation of DSB. Now you add in the extra risk of low efficiency, right? So the template strand for the fix of the DNA uses HDR, uses homology arms to match about 40 bases on either side of the gene insertion. My issue is the low efficiency. Make me think that insertion is not happening on all cells. Template strand doesn't get that, or it's just not used, right? Their lead drug is sickle cell disease, yet another sickle cell disease based on the self efficiency they're getting. I don't think they will work with in sickle cell disease. To block sickling, you need at least 60% of red blood cell expressing present with only 45 to 50% efficiency. They should not reach that level to a stock to the stocks, the sickling. I am not sure if I should even value this program. I think it will most likely fail. They're a long way of showing data. The rest of the pipeline is a very rare disease like X-linked. Okay, the Gaucher disease. When I look at his science and the indications, I just have to think it's better to wait and see the data. Just doesn't look as good as this SLEEK from Edit. So again, there's a reason why we didn't cover Verve Therapeutics and Graphite Bio that much in this channel. Graphite Bio was down like 20% almost like today. Again, it's a bloodbath day today in the public markets. Take this, what I just said, as a grain of salt, but just puts things in perspective. It's very volatile stock, and it just went IPO, just went public not that long ago. So um, I think they will need time. I think this company needs time to develop, to sort of adjust themselves. They remind me of Editas in the past year. I think they just need to adjust themselves and really, prove themselves that what they're working on is worth it, and that companies can, investors can stand behind their leadership. They do have a couple of people, key people in their board of directors, I believe. That's the Matthew. I think that's his. I forgot his family name. Starts with N or something like that. But he's a big name in the CRISPR space. He was in part of the foundation of CRISPR. A little bit under 10 decade ago. So they have a couple of key people in the team, but ultimately you need to have, you need to be more than just, hey guys, I'm involved in the CRISPR space. You need to do more than that, right? You need to, deliver good results. You need to be on plan. You need to get the job done. And this is what I truly look at when I'm analyzing company. Again, I think there'll be a winner. I strongly believe this. The optimist side of me says that this company will do really well with time, right? But if you're looking at the next year, if you're betting on this company, tripling in the next year, I'm sorry, I don't think this should be the company you should be focusing on. Again, I know a lot of people have done a lot of research on this company, and I'm looking forward for your comment, whether that's on but Grapha Bio or Verve Therapeutics. But to me, I don't really have much more to say here. But I truly agree with both of these threads on covering. Actually, in all these threads today, I covered. Um, I agree with biotech. I think these companies um, have something to prove. I think although they're classified as second generation CRISPR company, um, there's you need to prove more than the fact that you can tell that you reduce off targets and increase efficiency, right? You need to, and although I appreciate Dr. Liu's interviews on an ARC Invest and so on, and have covered that in this channel, I truly believe you need to deliver. You need to get the job done. And us as investors, right? We need to get more exposure to this, right? We need to get more information. That's the hardest part of this space, right? There's a couple of terms being used. We don't really understand what it is and how do we fare against each other. But again, biotech here, these threads are amazing. Give him a follow or her a follow on Twitter. They're doing an amazing job for this space. Shout out to that person, I think, or that team, whatever. If it's one entity or a couple of entities under that Twitter handle, shout out to that person. Again, this is what we do in this channel, guys. We try to cover all that we can. Although we may not be expert in this space, we may not be the best people to understand the technology. We want to provide you guys the facts, right? Education, so that you run away with it. You make your own conviction, build your own conviction, and then make your own investments, right? We never provide financial advice, but that's the whole point of this series, these three parts video, to give you a landscape view, overview, a bird's eye view of these companies, whether that's on technology, whether that's on valuation or future potential valuations, right? So great trades here, great job here from Biotech 2K1. If you haven't liked this video, guys, please do like it. Subscribe if you haven't, it really does help the channel. You guys know how the drill works. Do subscribe. Again, next video will be part 3 of the CRISPR companies, the landscape of CRISPR companies. And in part 3, I will talk about the 2 private companies that I really want to cover before closing this series of videos, where we'll be giving our final thoughts. So that's Mammoth Biosciences and Prime Medicine, the 3rd generation of CRISPR companies. Let's talk about it all in the next video. Do watch it, subscribe. Like I said, keep us on the radar, guys. We will have a lot of information for you in the genomic space, CRISPR space, genome editing companies. Thank you for watching.